नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from the first canto, chapter 7, text number 15. Mata Shishunam Nidhanam Sutanam
Mata Shishunam Nidhanam Sutanam
Nishamya Ghoram Paritapyamana
Nishamya Ghoram Paritapyamana
Tadaru Tatvashpakala Kulakshi Tam Santvayan Aha Kirattamali. Anyone devotee?
Mata Shishunam Nidhanam Sutanam
Nishamya Ghoram Paritapyamana
Nishamya Ghoram Paritapyamana
Tad Bashpakala Kulakshi
Tadarvita Bashpakala Kulakshi
Tam Samvarnaha Kiritamani
Tam Sanvarnyaha Kiritamani.
Word to word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Mata, the mother. Shishunam, of the children. Nidhanam, massacre. Sutana, of the sons. Nishamya, after hearing. Ghoram, ghastly. Paritapyamana, lamenting. Tada, at that time. Arudat, began to cry. Vashpakala akula akshi, with tears in the eyes. Tam, her. Santvayan, pacifying. Aha, said. Kiritamali, Arjuna. Translation. Draupadi, the mother of the 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears. Trying to pacify her in her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus. We'll also be reading the translation and the purport of the 16th verse. Translation. O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head. Purport. An enemy who sets fire to the house, administers poison, attacks all of a sudden with deadly weapons, plunders wealth or usurps agricultural fields or entices one's wife is called an aggressor. Such an aggressor, though he be a Brahmana or a so-called son of a Brahmana, has to be punished in all circumstances. When Arjuna promised to behead the aggressor named Ashwathama, he knew well that Ashwathama was the son of a Brahmana. But because the so-called Brahmana acted like a butcher, he was taken as such, and there was no question of sin in killing such a Brahmana son who proved to be a villain. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giram Yat Kripa Tavaham Vande Shri Gurundina Tarinam. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Welcome all the devotees for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. First of all, I would like to seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas so that whatever I may speak, I speak in parampara. Let the right words come out at the right time, in the right mood and spirit, in the mood of serving all the devotees. So I'll just make an attempt to just share some thoughts or reflections on the basis of what I have heard from my superiors. So this is a very beautiful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, So this is a very beautiful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about, which brings out beautiful qualities of two personalities here. One is Draupadi, who is in utter distress here, and here we see Arjuna, who is now taking a vow that yes, I will behead the son of, I will behead Ashwathama here. So whenever anyone hurts us, whenever anyone hurts us emotionally, physically, what is the tendency? The tendency is that we want to get even with them. In the West, it is called payback time. Where you kind of you want to take revenge. You have hurt me, so I will hurt you back. And it seems from this particular verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam that Arjuna also seems to be in that mood. He also seems to be in that spirit that yes, I will take revenge. He also seems to be having resentment. He seems to be having a revengeful attitude that I need to get even with with the kind of atrocity that Ashwathama just performed in front of everyone. Performed killing the 5 sons, the 5 children of the Pandavas. So let us try to understand. Did Arjuna really had this animosity within his heart? Did he want to actually take revenge, as what it seems to be in this verse? Where it is being said, "O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you then." Quite interestingly, also in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is saying, Krishna is saying, Tasma Tvam Utishtha, get up, Yasho Labhasva, get up and do what? Get fame, conquer, fight. He seems to be instilling a fear of, instilling an attitude of, a mentality of revenge within the heart of Arjuna. And do what? Jitva Shatrun, conquer your enemy. Conquer your enemy, Bhungshva Rajyam Samvridham, and enjoy an unparalleled and unrivaled kingdom. This comes in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 33rd verse. where Krishna is telling this to Arjuna. And this seems to be little quite surprising. Is Krishna trying to instill trying to incite Arjuna here? But quite interestingly, in the same chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, now what is Krishna saying? Now Krishna is saying, Mat karma krin, mat paramo, mat bhaktah sangha varjitaha, nirvaira sarva bhuteshu. Now what is Krishna saying here? Nirvairihi sarva bhuteshu. Oh, you should not have any enmity towards anyone. Now Krishna is saying in one verse, he is saying that you should fight, trying to incite Arjuna. Here is saying you should not have any enmity towards anyone. This seems to be a kind of a contradiction. But actually we learn a very important lesson from this particular dealing with Krishna with Arjuna, is that yes, you might have to administer justice, but justice also can be administered without any feeling of animosity, without a kind of revengeful attitude, that without any hateful attitude towards that person. And this is what is actually the mood of Arjuna in this particular section. And we also see down in the storyline coming down here, actually Krishna also was in full support. Now, if you read the storyline in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the future verses, Krishna was in full support of killing Arjuna. And what Krishna tells that, you should not have mercy on this Brahma Bandhu. He's just pretending to be, he's just a Brahmana namesake. He's actually not a Brahmana. In those days, the kind of act that Ashwathama performed was very heinous. A Brahmana is not supposed to pick up weapons and attack. Just by the using words, mantras or some incantations, it would be enough for a Brahmana, to perform a kind of curse. It was if a Brahmana wanted to get someone killed, he would normally do it through a Kshatriya, just like we see in the Ramayana. Vishwamitra Muni. Vishwamitra Muni goes to Dasharath Maharaj and tells him that we want, there are Rakshasas, whenever we are on the verge of completing a sacrifice, these Rakshasas come and pollute and contaminate the entire arena. What is this? What is happening here? And he told Dasharath Maharaj that actually I'm quite capable of doing it. I could have killed them myself, but I am now, a Brahmana, and I'm supposed to practice mind control and austerity here, and therefore it does not befit me. So my dear Dasharath, I have come here, I'm approaching you to kindly please do the needful. So you see, in those days, it was Brahmanas, used to not pick up weapons like the way Ashwathama did. So therefore he's called a Brahmana Bandhu here. And Krishna further goes on to say, he deserves to be killed. And Arjuna, most importantly, don't forget the promise that you have made to Draupadi. As we are seeing this verse, Arjuna has taken a vow that I will kill this miscreant, this unscrupulous person, Ashwathama. And he's a murderer. He's just simply burnt remnants of his family. That's all. So now you may say that, what is Krishna doing here? Krishna is, in Bhagavad Gita, he's also trying to incite a kind of revengeful attitude in Arjuna. And here also we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is trying to incite Arjuna here. But our beloved acharyas, they give a very beautiful insight to this particular whole episode. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, Krishna actually was testing Arjuna at this point of time. When Krishna was putting arguments forward to kill, Krishna was actually testing Arjuna. What was he testing? Krishna always tests his devotees. He wants to bring out certain qualities for us to learn, for the world to see. Just see, this is my devotee. Just like in the case of the gopis of Vrindavan. He tested the gopis of Vrindavan. He tested their, their mundane so-called chastity that they had towards their husband. Did they really surrender to Krishna? And he also tested Prahlad, by giving him benedictions. But what did Prahlad ask for? He asked, my dear Lord, I do not want anything. I just want pure devotional service. And here we see Arjuna. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very beautifully explains that actually he was testing Arjuna's sense of justice. What would Arjuna do in this situation? And Arjuna successfully passed this test. So you see, when a person is in revenge, in such a hateful attitude, revengeful attitude, he wants to somehow or other kill him. But you see, it did not disrupt Arjuna's intelligence. His calmness towards the entire particular episode can be seen through this. So this is what Krishna wants to bring out the qualities of his devotees. This proves that he actually never had any animosity towards anyone. And we also see, on the other hand, we see many examples in the scriptures where actually, devotees, the characters in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they had so much animosity, they had so much revenge towards a particular person. We see, but they were so beautifully guided, and gradually their heart get purified. One example is that example of Diti. Diti had so much of animosity, so much of revengeful attitude against who? Against Indra. She proclaimed that I will not rest in peace till the time I kill this person Indra. It is because even though Vishnu has killed, but it was because just to help Indra. So therefore, this person Indra needs to be killed. So we see, and later on we know that how she so perfectly, expertly tried to assist Kashyapa in his duties, but actually it was with the intention of wanting to take revenge here. And later on, when Kashyapa came to know the intention of Mother Diti, he was totally shocked, saying, how can this, I've been totally fooled here. But then Kashyapa thought, I will give her a Vaishnava austerity called the Pumsavan vow, by the virtue of which she will purify her heart. So you see what expert guidance given by such a exalted personality like Kashyapa. And we see also the example of Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj also, when the entire episode took place, he had so much of hateful attitude towards Suruchi. Oh, what does she think of herself? He was wanting revenge. To that extent, he went to his mother and he was crying profusely in front of the mother. And at that point of time, mother also was so much pain in the heart, because she told, my dear son, what can I do at this point of time? I myself being neglected by my husband here. And the best thing, she told him that you should do 3 things. Never desire harm for anyone. Why do you want to harm anyone? Never desire any harm for anyone. Second, she said, understand this, whatever has happened to you, it is just because of some past misdeed you have done. We also see the life of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was once giving he gave a beautiful class and kirtan he did in a Christian church. And he took one person called his friend, Mr. Mukherjee, along with him. Now everybody thought, such a nice friend of Prabhupada, he's coming along with him. And when Prabhupada, after the entire beautiful discourse and kirtan he gave, Mr. Mukherjee suddenly got up from his seat and told him, Srila Prabhupada, whatever you have said is utterly nonsense. How do you say in a church that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? How do you expect these people to surrender to Krishna? And he started insulting Prabhupada right, left and center. And devotees were shocked. Devotees had their fists clenched and teeth ready to pound him to dust, because he was so angry with the the exchange that took place in the Srimad Bhagavatam class after the kirtan in front of everyone. But Srila Prabhupada calmed them. And then the next day or two, Srila Prabhupada asked, where is that Mr. Mukherjee? He has not come to see me. He normally comes every day to see me. Prabhupada, he is such a blasphemous, envious person. Why do you want to see him? Oh, no. Why do you say like this? Actually, I must have done something wrong to him in the past, because of which I had to face that at that particular point of time. So you see, even Srila Prabhupada, whatever ever happened, he always considered this as a divine arrangement of the Supreme Lord to teach a beautiful lesson to us. So this is something so instructive for all of us. So we see the third instruction: whatever you may desire, go to the Supreme Lord. Tam eva vatsacharya bhritya vatsalam. Hey Vats, oh my dear child, why don't you go to that Lord who is so kind to all his devotees? Krishna is referred to here as Bhritya Vatsalam. So we see that in our life, just like we saw in the example of Dhruv Maharaj, and we just saw in the example of Diti, that yes, they had revenge, they had animosity within their heart, but the most beautiful thing is they were guided so expertly. And we also see in the Bhagavad Gita, I just recently going through the Bhagavad Gita, towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, the 18th chapter, Krishna, the last question in the Bhagavad Gita is told by Krishna to Arjuna. My dear Arjuna, I have narrated the entire Bhagavad Gita. Were you able to hear attentively? All your illusions have been smashed. All your misconceptions have gone away. So we see two beautiful qualities of Krishna being brought out here. Krishna's first quality, through the first question of asking Arjuna, were you able to hear attentively, is bringing out this beautiful quality of Krishna's awareness, situational awareness. Now just imagine, you're in the battlefield where there is so much of noise that is going on, and at the same point, Arjuna is so ethically conflicted from within. He's already in an emotional turmoil. And in that scenario, where there is so much of, horns blowing, all people are ready to spring into action. And this is such an important war for Arjuna, this battle of Kurukshetra, because it decides the future of the entire, the Pandavas. Being aware of this entire situation, Krishna was very sensitive. Okay, were you able to hear attentively, despite so many things going on? There's an external conflict and there's an internal conflict also. Are you okay? Have you heard attentively? And second question that Krishna asks is, have all your misconceptions been, or have all your illusions been smashed? Has it been resolved? This brings out Krishna's beautiful quality of concern. That shows Krishna was ready to repeat his message, partly or wholly. And he wanted to ensure that Krishna understood each and everything. Arjuna understood each and everything. He did not want he did not want Arjuna just to go with any kind of confusion. So it is very important, just like how Mother Suniti, she equipped Dhruv Maharaj, with the right knowledge, so that he could make the right choices. In a very similar manner, Krishna also so beautifully, he did not only give a brilliant discourse. He did not give a brilliant Bhagavatam class, where everyone is appreciating and clapping. But he also guided them in such a way that he gave Arjuna, he never forced his opinions on Arjuna. We see in 18.63, Yathachasi Tatha Kuru. Ultimately, whatever you want to do, Arjuna, you can go ahead and do. But he helped Arjuna to discriminate. Now, this is choice one. If you choose this will be the path. This is choice two. If you choose this, then this will be the path. Clear cut. So this is perfect guidance given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And along with that, along with giving guidance, Krishna gave him confidence. Many a times, while in our preaching, we see sometimes first years coming, or not in first years, even devotees, coming and telling that, oh, Prabhuji, my mind is so much it's not controlled. What do I do? Now, it's not that the devotee does not know the solution. It's not that the devotee, he does not know the solution. We know what is the solution to most, when our mind is not under control. We have been hearing so many lectures, one after the other. But many a times, what do the subordinates need? They need confidence. Just like, in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is Now Arjuna is confiding into Arjuna, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna paramathi balavad dridam tasyaham nigraham manya vayureva sudushkaram. Krishna, my mind is so obstinate, so troublesome it is. You please help me, tasyaham nigraham manya. I can control the wind, but I cannot control the raging mind. Now, does Krishna immediately give a solution? Okay, solution 1, solution 2, solution 3, this your problem is solved, Arjuna. No, first he reassures. Asamshayam mahabaho durnigram manochalam. Yes, Arjuna, I totally agree with you, whatever you're saying. That yes, the mind is so obstinate and it is very, very difficult to control. And then later on, Krishna goes on with the solution. So we learn a very important lesson. Krishna is giving such perfect counseling, some counseling tips and facilitation tips from here we can learn from Arjuna, from Krishna here in the Bhagavad Gita. So beautiful guidance that is being given. So he gave confidence. So in a very similar we see in this particular verse, in the next verse itself, it is written, guided by Krishna as a friend and as a charioteer. Just in the next verse. So Krishna is giving such beautiful guidance here. Such beautiful, mature guidance to Arjuna here. And to that extent, Krishna's confidence gives Arjuna so much confidence that, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when this entire Jayadratha episode happens, he takes this vow that now I will kill, what's his name? Jayadratha, yeah. I will kill now Jayadratha. I will now kill him. Now Krishna, he is totally in anxiety, he is totally apprehensive. So he goes to Arjuna and tells him, you said you have taken this vow, Arjuna. So any strategy you have planned? What is your plan for the next day? He's like, Keshava, why do I need to worry? You are there with me. Wherever you are, there is victory. Why do I need to worry about anything? So beautiful. So you can see Krishna gave full confidence to Arjuna by being by his side, and advising him in the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna had full confidence in Krishna. That, because everybody were thinking that this particular vow that was taken by Arjuna is practically impossible. Going through the ranks of the Kaurava army and getting to Jayadratha, and it was something so virtually impossible. But it was the grace of Krishna, the confidence that Arjuna had in Krishna, which made the impossible possible. So we see, so this is the importance of, guidance here. You give confidence to your subordinates here. On one hand, so we see Arjuna here. And on the other hand, this verse also talks about Draupadi. Draupadi at this point of time, what is happening? As per the verse, she is crying in distress. But later on, when we see in the storyline, we see that on one hand, Arjuna wants to take revenge. But on the other hand, Draupadi wants to forgive. Forgive him. Why do you want to do anything? Why do you want to kill him? Don't do anything. Just leave him. Why do you want? I do not want Mother Kripi to undergo the same kind of tribulation and the turmoil that I am undergoing right now. Please don't do this. So there seems to be a confusion here. Should we forgive, or should we take a kind of a step in order to administer justice here? So let us try to also discuss, from Draupadi's point of view here. Draupadi, many a times people ask, is forgiveness practical? Do we need to forgive here at this point of time where people have done so much of injustice towards you? Sometimes people ask this question here, and actually, forgiveness is a virtue that even Krishna, he explains so beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita 16.3, Krishna is saying, when Krishna is explaining the divine qualities, the ornaments that decorate a person, one of the qualities, Tejak Shama, Dhriti Saucham, Adroha Nati Manina. So he says, the second quality, 16.3, Krishna is saying, Kshama. So forgiveness is definitely a quality which, decorates a godly person. And it is something which is very, very good that we should cultivate. But at the same time, do we need to become like Draupadi? where we say, okay, forgive and forget. We also see this in the life of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthir Maharaj is such a humble and noble soul. Despite so many atrocities done one after the other, his brother being poisoned, him being, the entire family being sent to the house of lac where it is being burnt, the chastity of his wife being questioned, she being disrobed in front of the entire Kuru assembly. That itself was sufficient for anyone's tolerance limits to be tested. Enough, I cannot have it anymore. But we see Yudhishthira Maharaj again forgiving. To that extent, when the Pandavas were in the forest, during the exile, Duryodhana thought of a plan. Let us boast our wealth. So with the entire entourage, with the entire army, they went with all the majesty and with all the opulences, to where the Pandavas were there in poverty-stricken condition. They were sleeping under a tree. And suddenly huge noises of trumpets and elephants and horses were all around. And the Pandavas got up and saying, what is happening here? Why so much of noise? And he was there with Duryodhana and his entire party laughing. And to that extent, this was the first time that happened. Second time, Duryodhana did the same thing. And while going through the forest, he thought, oh, this is a very beautiful pond. Let us take a bath here. And there was one Gandharva in that pond. And then Gandharva and the brothers of Duryodhana were saying, our king Duryodhana has come. You need to get off this pond. And the Gandharva said, you fool, how dare you speak to me like this? What do you think of yourself? I've been bathing here and you have the audacity to tell me to get out? Tell your brother to challenge me in a fight. At that point of time, Kshatriyas would never refuse any kind of proposal of a fight. And Duryodhana, as egoistic he can get, he said, yes, I will accept it. And Duryodhana was utterly defeated. And he was tied up and brought in front of Yudhishthira Maharaj and put in front of him. And Arjuna presented him, just see. And at that point of time, Bhima was like, he should not be forgiven. He's a rascal. How can he has done so much of atrocities against us. He should be thrown. He should be, given a punishment. You know what Yudhishthira Maharaj told at this point of time? Why do you want to do all this? When it comes to, he told Arjuna before Yudhishthira being captured, when it is amongst us, they are 100, we are 5. But when we are facing against outside forces, we are not 105, we are 100 plus 5, that is 105. So this was Yudhishthira Maharaj's noble demeanor of forgetting, forgive, forget, forgive, forget, forgive. No animosity within the heart. Now one may think, now this is too much. In practical life scenario, can we do this? Now we are repeatedly being hurt. We are repeatedly being offended here. Should we just forgive like this? This seems to be too much, going above the limits. So another step is, okay, you forgive, but you withhold your trust. Hare Krishna. Okay, you forgive, but you withhold your trust. And we see this in the example of Vidurji. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, when this entire, when Vidurji knew about Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra is blindly attached to his son. Is blindly attached to his son Duryodhana, and he knew. Hare Krishna. Vidura knew that Dhritarashtra is blindly attached to his son here, and he will do anything to any extent. Whatever Duryodhana says, whatever he does, Dhritarashtra, because of his blind attachment to Duryodhana, all his plans will be sanctioned. All his plans will be sanctioned. And after the gambling match, Dhritarashtra had a sense of guilt from within, and he called Vidura. Vidura, you are an ocean of intelligence, and knowledge. can you give me a ways and means by the virtue of which, we can pacify the Pandavas? Vidura told him, you're a fool. You know dharma, you know everything, but still you took the step of exiling the Pandavas. There is no other destination for your sons other than being killed at the hands of Bhima and Arjuna. This is what is their destiny. And Dhritarashtra got totally enraged. He was totally furious. He told them, how dare Vidura? You are always supporting the Pandavas in their schemes. You're against my son. So therefore I banish you. Get out from here. And Vidura went. But later on, Dhritarashtra felt the sense, what did I do? This was a mistake. Vidura is such a well-wisher of mine. So what did he do? He sent his secretary, Sanjaya, to please go and call and pacify Vidura. And Vidura came back, no doubt about it. But from that point of time, Vidura forgave, but he did not trust Dhritarashtra. He did not trust him. So you see, he did not withhold his forgiveness, because if he withheld his forgiveness, he wouldn't have been able to inculcate a sense of detachment in Dhritarashtra. In the 13th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhritarashtra quits home. Why was Vidura able to enlighten Dhritarashtra here? Because of the congenial relationship that they had with each other. And that was on the basis of the forgiveness that Vidura was ready to, give again and again when Dhritarashtra was committing any kind of nepotism or any kind of bad things that he was doing. But at the same time, he did not trust him. He knew Dhritarashtra is a weak-hearted person. And, and what is the benefit of that? He ensured, by withholding his trust, in the process, he would not be trampled. So many a times, in our life situations, when a subordinate, or he commits any mistakes again and again and again, due to some reason like weakness of heart, due to not a very correct attitude, our duty should be, yes, we forgive. But at the same time, it takes a lot to earn the trust. Yes, we forgive, like the way Vidura did. That is second thing. So there's one where we forget and we forgive. Second is we forgive, but we withhold the trust. And the third thing, sometimes it goes to such an extent that you need to administer justice. You need to administer some kind of punishment. Why? Just for the benefit and for the reformation of that individual. And we see this very beautifully in the example in the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, when this entire episode of Mother Sita being kidnapped and Ravana being killed, at the end, Lord Ram tells Vibhishan that you should perform the last rites of your brother. And Vibhishan, at that point of time, he reflected and he told Lord Ram, my brother Ravana was so envious towards you. He was so blasphemous towards you. He never said anything good about you. And you want me to perform last rites for such a person? How can I? I cannot do that. But Lord Ram, he gave a very beautiful instruction to Vibhishan. He said, I'll just read it as it is for all of you. He said, no disdain should be ever felt for the soul. Once dead, a person's soul leaves his body and proceeds to its next life. Ravana's sinful body is now dead, but his pure soul continues to live. The soul is always worthy of respect. You should therefore carry out the rites for the eternal good of your brother's immortal soul. So we see through the beautiful example of Lord Ram, how he addressed the situation. Yes, there was a need to administer justice, but there was no trace of animosity. There was no trace of revenge. Oh, this foolish Ravana, why did he do that? He tried to kidnap my consort Mother Sita. He's a fool. And he never wanted any kind of revenge. But even after Ravana's death, he only wanted good. So you see, we see different situations. First, the example of Yudhishthira Maharaj. forgive and forget. Second, we see the example of Vidura, very intelligently he forgives, but at the same time he withholds his trust. And third, we see the example of Lord Ram. He addresses the situation because it is the need at that point of time that we need to administer some form of justice. We need to administer some kind of punishment in order to set a good example for others and for the society to follow, or for community to build. And therefore, Lord Ram did the necessary thing. So we saw Arjuna, we saw Draupadi. Now, of course, now it all depends, what needs to be done at a particular situation depends on various factors. We cannot just, okay, this is the situation, so this is what you need to do. It all depends on multiple factors. It depends upon the trust factor, depends upon the situation, depends upon the individual, depends upon your relationship with that individual, which decides whether we just forget and forgive, or whether we forgive and withhold our trust, or we need to administer punishment. And most of the times, so the applications, so therefore we need to be thoughtful, we need to be sensitive, and we need to be mature when applying these general principles to specific situations. And often, in these situations, we can seek guidance from the Supreme Lord and His devotees, from Krishna through prayerful contemplation, and from His devotees through heartfelt discussions. So, in order to understand what is to be done at what point of time. So, this is the beautiful thing that today we come across in this verse, where we see Krishna, where we see Arjuna, wanting a kind of wanting to kill Ashwathama, and we see Draupadi, who is ready to forgive and forget for all the kinds of atrocities that Ashwathama performed. So let us pray to the Supreme Lord that He also gives us, when we are faced with these situations in our life, which sometimes may be very bewildering and very confusing, Krishna gives us the right intelligence, and Krishna gives us the right discrimination, and we always be in the mood of forgiving, because in all the three situations I described through various examples, it was always in the mood of forgiving, and we forgive without any kind of animosity or any kind of revengeful attitude in our heart, just for the good for that person, because only in that situation we can do Kirtanya Sadahari. Only in that situation we can chant the holy names of the Lord, attentively. Because if we have a revengeful attitude and animosity towards any devotee, Krishna will not be pleased by that. What Krishna is pleased by, that we don't offend any devotees. We don't have any revengeful or animosity amongst us in the community. So with this prayer and call for action, especially for me, I would like to thank all the devotees for giving me an opportunity to present some thoughts and reflections on this very beautiful and instructive verse, which brings out very beautiful qualities and characteristics of these two personalities, Arjuna and Draupadi. Srimad Gantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.